So it is the 19th of September. We are in 2023. And we have the pleasure of having a design review call with Etta Wallet, which was built by Rukundo by Colin. Really happy to be here on this call with Colin and see what he's been doing with the wallet and providing with any feedback that we can help him as he builds. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Colin, do you want to maybe do a bit of introduction of how you built the wallet? And I think it might be interesting for listeners as well to hear about the resources you use to build the wallet.
And it might also
Yeah.
be really good if you can tell us what kind of feedback you're looking for today, right? Then we can help you better. If it's like general anything goes, or if it's particularly to certain screens or certain flows or certain UI elements, yeah, anything that can narrow it down is helpful.
All right. So happy to be here once again. I really enjoy these sessions a lot. I love this community, and I think maybe Etta Wallet wouldn't be as far as it has come without it. I've been using the Bitcoin Design Guide now for I think yeah, and I really love like how everything is well broken down, the ease of use, pretty much how you explain every little aspect of how Bitcoin actually works and Lightning. So for me, really, it's been a wonderful resource, and I really love. This is I think my second session here, but I really enjoy these sessions because I learn so much and I get feedback. So happy to be here again. And so just a quick intro. Etta Wallet is an LDK-based wallet. It runs on both Android and iOS. It's built in React Native, and it's a project that's been in development for about a year now. It has come a long way, and mostly I think what I'm really proud of is the UI kit that it runs on, and that's been worked on very slowly. It's been I think a few months since we last had an update for that particular library. But for now, the wallet in the sense that it actually just works, and you can now send and receive transactions instantly. Added a few more features, so you can actually use things like Lightning addresses. You can use anywhere withdraw. You can do a bunch of things now. Some things are not possible yet, based on how quickly LDK is actually trying to move the spec along. But for now, it works. I think so. I think most of it. And I think for this call, really, what I was hoping for is, very honest, critical feedback in terms of like, the whole point of the wallet was for it to be user friendly, and that's like for the most, the person who hasn't heard about Bitcoin for the very first time. Most people find Bitcoin on chain first, and then they move on to Lightning. But I'm thinking it could be different. I think more people want to like just use Bitcoin from Lightning, from the very first time that you talk with Bitcoin to be on Lightning. So I think making that experience as easy and as user friendly as possible is very important. And I think that's why I'm here again, because it's hard to work. It's hard to work in a vacuum where you pretty much making your own decisions, and of course it would be nice to have time to have calls like this and get more feedback more often. But I think what I've been doing that's helped is like creating releases and then having people test that and then getting that feedback from individuals as opposed to calls like this. So when this happens, I really hope to get more actionable feedback in terms of like what do you guys think of the wallet? Does it actually make sense in the way it actually works? Does it use the design guide perfectly well? But also maybe what areas can we improve on, that are in line with design guide and what you're trying to accomplish with that. But then of course, in terms of like particular feedback, right now with the way the wallet actually works and the way you open channels is mostly based off the new spec for LSPS2, which is just-in-time channels. And right now, there's a bug in the LDK emoji I'm using, and that doesn't allow you to open channels with still Lightning based nodes. So the LFP we use is called voltage flow, and their node is still Lightning. So right now, there's no actual zero conf happening, because the channel request that happens isn't for a zero conf channel. It comes in as a normal channel. So that means that I put a limit for minimum one block of information, which means that you have to wait for at least 10 minutes to get a channel ready and usable. So that's a big challenge. I thought about how to abstract all that and make it easier. Try to the screen that shows you how you open the channels, what's happening in the background, capacity, and all that. But it's not. I don't think it's. I don't think people need to see all that to begin with. And of course, there was some feedback as well from the very last session where I think Daniel had a few points to what we can do around the buttons, which was changed, what we can improve on with the LSP channel open as well, which I think changed a little bit as well. And then maybe another thing that we got feedback on that other change is the idea of starting your node, which I think is very, for now, I think it can actually go. I'm just saying that upfront. I know it's going to be a very big issue on the call. But yeah, I'd really love to hear your feedback and, get, more insight into what can change, what you can improve on, and, what you guys think of the wallet right now as it is in its current state. Yeah. So for now, just for the video, it works in testnet only. So it's still stuck there because, again, still in testing, but of course the LSP we use is still stuck in testnet for now. So once we have a proper LSP that can put us into the main net, we can actually move the app to production and have more people real world use cases for that as well. Oh, another thing that again is happening is that the wallet for now only has one peer, which is the LSP. So the LSP is really our eyes into the outside world. So LSP is our perspective of the network right now. That means that you can route payments and move money back and forth, but the issue is that it depends on what's in the LSP's network graph. So voltage has come a long way, and you can now send payments easily, across Etta Wallet and things like HLC.me. You can send via Thunder Hub. You can move money around easily as well. But the issue is that it has to rely on LSP to tell it what's happening in the outside world and to route payments, and that's where the challenge comes from, because that is very limiting. If we think about it, it's very, very limiting. So yeah, for now, that's it. That's where the wallet is, and I really I'm here to get a sense of what you guys think and what can be improved on. So I'm happy to be here.
Well done. I mean, I know you've been working on this for a long time now, and you can really tell it's come along, and things are working under the hood and stuff. Before we jump in with feedback, can I just ask as well, like, what's your goal with this? Is it to build an actual wallet that is available on the App Store and is kind of live in production, and you want to find as many users as possible, or is it meant as a kind of reference implementation of some of the stuff from the guide on top of React Native? Or yeah, what's your goal with this?
To be honest, I don't know. For me, it's an experiment into what would proper non-custodial Lightning actually look like, and we don't have much of that besides maybe Phoenix Wallet. But I think we need more examples of this is actually possible. It can be done. It has been done before. So for me, it's really an experiment into what is wrong with Lightning today. Things like we don't have offline receive yet; it's still pending. We don't have proper channel backups, although even with Splice that brings a new opportunity as well. So what can be fixed in terms of as we go towards real actual self-custodial Lightning? What can we change and give people the option as opposed to relying on things like Walter Satoshi and Machankura and things like that. So the idea is that we need to have alternatives that people can actually use, so they can feel safe and confident with their funds. So for me, it's an experiment. Can we have things like key send on Lightning work really well? Can we have Lightning addresses that are very non-custodial? Can we have proper UX, which is again why the design guide has been a very good utility for the wallet as well. So for me, it's an experiment, and I think maybe if it can work in production, well and good. I haven't thought that far ahead. For now, if all these things that are being tested can just sort of work, I would say it helps to have a resource that people can look to and say, wait, this has been done before. There's no need to overthink the idea that Lightning is very, very difficult non-custodially. So it's more of that for me. It's an experiment, and I really hope to see where this actually goes, because I don't know, and I really enjoy working on it. I love working on this project. It's come a long way, but I obsess about it a bit. So I really want to see where it ends up. I don't really know what that looks like for now, to be honest.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. So what I heard was you're doing this to learn, and you're doing it to test and see if certain things are possible, and there are key things that are not yet possible. So until we reach that point,
Yeah.
you're not really considering it kind of a product
Yeah.
that should be out there. That's super cool. I can start just sharing a few thoughts, and then others should jump in. I mean, from a high level, I can see, and I know that you've been working with the kind of UI kit in the app, and I see that in many places. But then there are some places where there are elements that kind of deviate from that a bit. So that's maybe something that you can take a little bit of time and sort of comb through the app, and where there are things that stick out, kind of see if, is there something in the UI kit that I'm not using here that could fit in better, or is there nothing? And then maybe you should give us some feedback and stuff. But one example, for example, if you go into the contacts, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but if you go into the contacts and the search field feels maybe a little bit out of context with the dark gray and stuff. And I know that on the home page with the send and scan and request buttons, they are nice and big and juicy. But for someone coming in from Android or iOS, that they might feel a little bit unused to both the size of that bottom nav bar and the styling of those buttons. So just generally kind of go through the app and see, like, okay, what else can I pick up from either the UI kit or from sort of standard UI components from the platforms. And then the other, I guess, sort of broader feedback is, and I think you picked up on some of this from our previous review, that like whenever the user can be spared something they have to do, that's obviously normally a good idea. So like when I onboarded here, there was a step where like it told me to start my Lightning node, and there was a button to click start. But there was no other option. So like, maybe it's good to know that it's starting, but on the other hand, I couldn't really do anything else. So maybe you could just do that automatically for the user. And then when it is started, you tell them, hey, it's now live, or it started, or something like that. So, and I think there might be a few points like that in other places too. For example, when you click the sort of settings button in the top right, you get the sort of bottom drawer coming up. And then if I click general, I go into the kind of actual full modal thing. So I'm thinking there are probably places where you can simplify both for yourself as a developer and maybe for the user. Like maybe some of those things don't need to be under a menu item, or like, for example, if you click on the wallet backup, I then have another screen that I have to click to go into there. And maybe that's deliberate, maybe not, but yeah, just sort of thinking through the structure there, if there are any kind of steps you can save for the user. But otherwise, it's really cool to see that you're working through it. I love the on my first request, obviously told me I didn't have a channel and stuff, and and at first I was a bit worried because I thought, oh shit, now I have to go and do that myself. But then the third bullet point actually told me, like, no, we're going to try and do it for you. So like maybe rework the information there a bit, because if that had been the first bullet point, I would have been really pleased, right? Like it's like if you combine the sort of information about what's necessary, but like write it in a way that the user immediately knows that this is going to be taken care of for them, or something like that. And I wasn't actually aware that it was going to be a just-in-time channel. It read to me like it was going to be a normal channel. Maybe that's what it is, but like that's another thing you can consider. Like when the Vortex and the Flow spec is actually working really well, you can also check like, do I need to tell the user this? Or can I sort of just give them the, because if it's a just-in-time channel, right, you can give them the invoice and the QR almost immediately. And then the channel is actually only open once the payment is received. But maybe this is the case now because it isn't actually a just-in-time channel. Maybe I got that wrong.
So just on that channel bit, so you can actually see the just-in-time flow when you try to request. Right now you have a channel that's about 100,000 sats for capacity, but if you try to like request an invoice for larger than that, maybe like 1 million sats, it will tell you that you don't have enough inbound liquidity for this, and we're going to try and open up an inbound channel. So we have to open up a channel, or we have to pay a fee to the LSP to open a channel for you. You can test that right now. So that's where it comes into play. But even then with the way it opens up a channel right now, the way it works is we make an invoice from the wallet itself, and then the LSP wraps that invoice, gives it back to us, and then so you've noticed that you got some money, some sats, and that came from the faucet. So set up a faucet to allow people to just pretty much use this on testnet for now, because otherwise there'll be no way for you to like really see how to transact on this wallet for now. So what happens? The faucet then pays that invoice to the LSP, and the LSP opens the channel to the node. That's what's happening in the background right now.
Okay, yeah. So there's several things wrapped up in one here. There's like
the
channel opening, which I read as a user was the only thing that was going to happen. I was surprised by also receiving the 5,000 sats, which was a good thing, but like wouldn't happen if this was on mainnet, right?
True, so, definitely not. It's
anyway, no big issues. I mean, like it's all work in progress. The fine point might be to actually mention somewhere that it was testnet, because I was super thrilled. I thought it was on mainnet. I was receiving 5,000 sats. Obviously, not feasible, right? But yeah, so maybe in settings somewhere, or information about the light, because I was then going to check, right? Like, is it on mainnet or is it on testnet? And I couldn't find any information. So maybe that's something to show just under the Lightning Network or something.
Definitely.
Cool. I'll leave the floor now for someone else.
No, Daniel, that's been absolutely amazing that you, I've taken notes with all of the feedback here as well. And then we can make like just a GitHub summary of all of these comments, and then, be super helpful. Then you have everything in one place and you can just use that as a place to go back to. Jason, you're new to the call. Do you want to say hi or introduce yourself? You're most welcome to talk as well. No? All right. Christoph and Michael, I'll hand it over to you guys. There is a Figma file which I've shared in the chat. If you guys, if you haven't managed to download the wallet, or if you have, you can just use the screenshots from the Figma file to go through. So yeah, Michael.
Yeah, so I only have iPhones, so I'm not sure whether it's on test flight as well.
It is.
Okay, so I'll have to check out the real thing in later. But I went through the Figma file beforehand, and something that I liked is kind of the information density on the screens, mostly. Where it gets a bit harder to read, but with a little bit of knowledge, I actually like the approach of kind of explaining the user about the screen that we just talked about opening the channel. But since it's kind of mostly text or kind of copy text without maybe any, I think maybe just kind of subtitles would help, kind of to make the screen a bit more like scannable. But in general, what I also after that, what I liked was really, you basically let the user know what's happening at all times, which is I mean it's a best practice and UX best practice. So it's really nice. What I think will be challenging still is how to word and which of these terms that you're using do you have to explain to users, right? What's actually an LSP? What is a channel? So these are, and there will not be a correct or right or wrong answer for this. So it's not something that is kind of finally solvable, maybe, but that's probably going to be one of the things that you just have to probably put out there and then tweak as you go. But what I like most is kind of it about these flows is the transparency. It's very transparent what's going on, and so that was great. But it's a bit tough to just judge from the Figma file. So I have to find you in test flight and give it a spin. I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you have some insights, you could also jump on a call and I'll get that feedback as well. Maybe the question I would have for maybe Michael is like, how much transparency is too much, and like, because like on the channel opening thing, the police should know about the channel open, if it's going to be should they, how much should they know about what's going on, like how much is too much information. And maybe if I'm like a noob, I don't actually know anything about channels, but if I'm like an advanced user, maybe I care to know what's happening in the background. So maybe like how much is too much, and maybe how do we strike a balance between like what's important and what's not.
So
Yeah,
this-
it's hard. I mean, it will vary, right? Because for, let's say, medium or intermediate users, they will know or might have a conceptual understanding of what a node is and maybe what payment channels are. So these people don't. For them, it's probably good enough if you just say, "Hey, we need to open a channel."
Yeah.
The second point is probably they won't need to see that because they know how it works, right? Once you have a node, you can send, or they know that, or might have an understanding that Lightning is for kind of moving Bitcoin instantly. Yeah, but something that's probably relevant is point number 3, just like Daniel said, is that you're basically opening a channel to a service provider. Yeah, I don't think it's, they're not complicated sentences.
Yeah.
It's yeah. It's but still, it fills the screen with copy, and maybe there's a way to even condense it further and to make somehow, I don't know, try to use like headlines or kind of like a list and have kind of additional info on request. So for people who want to know more about what a Lightning channel is, they can click on the details of it, and you maybe open a modal or an info screen that explains what a service provider is. So this way you could maybe strike a balance between these intermediate users and complete newbies. But that's kind of, I'd probably have to try it myself to see whether that's actually achieves anything. But I'll be happy to give it a try.
Yeah, that would be really, really helpful to see what you think. I really look forward to your thoughts and what can be improved as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to chew on this a little bit.
So I'm experiencing something interesting here. I set up the wallet for the second time on my phone because I wanted to make sure I captured all of the screenshots. So I set up the wallet the first time. I went through the user flow. I captured all the screenshots. Then I deleted it and I went through it again because I was like, I think there's some screenshots I missed out on. So now I'm back on the home, the send and receive screen, and I click
Yeah.
request. And it's almost like that activation part of opening a channel is not initiating.
Yeah. So what's happening now is because the channel stuff is backed up to your mobile device. That means that the way you can do it is if you reset the app. If you go to settings and then you hit on reset Etta Wallet, that helps you to delete even the files that have been backed up with the channel information. Because right now, it knows that you had in the files on your phone, on your device, it knows that there's an active node. So if you reset the app, it will delete all those files as well, and then you can start afresh. But if you just delete the app, then the files are still there. I think that's also another thing to think about in terms of like when people like update an application or maybe install on a previously installed on phone, what should actually happen. But that's why there's a we back up the files on the phone's device directly. So that means that if you just delete the app and just reinstall the app, it already has a folder that it checks in for the LDK files, and they're already there. So it assumes that you are an existing node already. Maybe you can just reset the app directly, and that should give you like a fresh, new. Um,
Resetting it as we speak.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. This is great. So yeah, I'll send an invoice as soon as we've reset. But
All right.
yeah, so this was just me going through the user flow and really trying to capture everything. I so same just like Daniel, like I love looking at just everything just worked really smooth, and I share the same sentiment as Michael in the sense that the application does a really good job of letting you know what to expect. So the expectations as the person moves through the user flow is really clear. I know what's going to happen. um, it also just feels and looks really clean, and I don't know, there's like you make really good use of, there's the screens are not cluttered. There's a lot of white space on all of the screens. There's really only one screen. It's the TLDR screen that has quite a bit of text on it, but other than that it's pretty, like all of the other
Yeah.
screens are pretty good. But yeah, just some small comments from my side was, let's see, you could add maybe the text, this the pay attention. I definitely share your sentiment here in the sense that you're like, listen, this is still in beta phase. But sometimes
Yeah.
I was thinking like if we tell the user pay attention, they might think like something's going to go wrong. So maybe we could just let them know like we're in beta, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then you can share the below steps, just so that they feel a little bit more comfortable when they go on,
Yeah.
when they're on board. But yeah, totally up to you. It's a very small suggestion. My phone does have fingerprint recognition.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure if that was activated or not. I tried to activate it, but I didn't quite get a confirmation
Did
that it was fully set up.
did you get like a prompt to press your fingerprint on the screen to authenticate? Did you get a prompt
Yeah, I
that came
did.
up? Then it should be fine because once you go into the settings and you go to under biometrics, you should see that it's enabled. But of course, there is no. I think what you're saying is some kind of like prompt to say it's been enabled. Like there's oh this
Yeah,
is now all set. Okay.
I'm saying enabled. Yeah, yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah, but it's good. It's good that it recognizes if a phone has that. That's really
Yeah.
good. Um, yeah, the node ID. So here's me being entering in the shoes of a non technical person, and I just commented over here that for new users it might be interesting for them to have a little bit of background information about how, like, what is the node ID, how is it used, who would they share it with? I don't know, maybe even just like a little question, like a information box, or any other way that you feel you can solve this, for someone who
Oh,
doesn't know what a node ID is.
I have a question on that. So I'm thinking, see where we have a lot of text, we could have small tooltips, but I'm thinking maybe around like pages that pop up, from the base that have, if you press on like, it tells you more about what is this thing. Maybe there'll be like an icon for information. When you click on icon, it opens up a screen with more information. What's a node ID? Maybe it can be used for key send payments and things like that. It can be used to connect to other peers. So I think maybe, what do you guys think of small tools versus a larger screen with more information and detail?
I'll leave that to the rest of the floor to Michael has to jump. I'll leave that to Daniel and Christoph what they think about these tool tips.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Hey, should I say something?
Yeah, totally inviting you on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just tapping around here in the background. I tried to, I added a contact, added a Lightning address, tried to send to it, scanned some LB Lightning invoices, trying to all this stuff, see how it works. Not successful sending or receiving stuff from LB.
Yeah.
Lightning address, though.
I know why. It's all testnet for now.
Yeah.
I did set up like an LNBits instance and also generally like I've just put a Lightning address here and also a URL withdraw here. So we can test with this. The first one is LNURL pay, so Lightning address for. Then the second one is LNURL withdraw, also for testnet. So you can test both of them and see how it feel. A lot of this is like README as well, so it's easy to just test them directly. But even with HTLC.me, you can try and see if you can receive a payment from. And
So you're breaking up a bit for me.
oh,
Is it the same for everyone else?
Yeah.
what about now? Yeah. All right. So I was saying, so I've just shared two bits in the chat. So the first one is an URL pay address, Lightning address. So you can actually attempt to pay that, and it's essentially for testnet. So that will work. I think why it failed to work with LB is maybe that's on mainnet, so it won't pay it. And then for this one, the second one is really just an LNURL withdraw, I guess, address. And you can save this to your contacts, but ideally you can withdraw from there's a testnet faucet that I run for testing, and you can withdraw some stats from that as well. Just both LNURL withdraw, LNURL pay, and Lightning addresses as well, so you can see what they look like. It would be really interesting if you can tell me what happens when you try to pay or withdraw. And then I also put here HTLC.me, which is an online, custodial Lightning wallet. So you can also try and from it and see if you can pay an invoice to the wallet directly through HTLC.me.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I was just really excited to see all this functionality in there. That because some of the stuff like the contacts that was pretty much done in static for the design guide.
Yeah.
And now actually playing with it is pretty nice. Being able to add a contact, add static addresses, assign contacts to different payments. It's all really, really cool to play with. I guess a similar perspective as Daniel had is is with any product, there are multiple areas to work on. For one, like what you talked about is the emerging technology of Lightning. Like I just listened to a podcast with the Phoenix people this morning or yesterday, which was about dual funding and splicing, all the stuff that enables and how they manage channels and all that. So there's a lot of stuff happening and probably some unlocks happening with async payments and all of this stuff coming up. So there's the technical side that can be driven forward. Then Daniel mentioned a bit the execution side, polishing up the UI, making it playful, making it, I don't know, slick, whatever you want it to be. You could potentially try to brand this instead of going directly with UIKit, trying to build a bit more of a branded experience on top. That would be a separate project. And what else? Yeah, regarding the onboarding, like with opening up a channel where it explains all this stuff, I think it's helpful for people like us. We want to know, but I think for ideally you could just avoid all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it just have a loader or so, or something that says working on stuff or setting you up. And you know, just like I updated my iPhone earlier, and it's like it's doing all kinds of stuff, but I really don't care. Just tell me when you're done. Right? Another part of this is, and I think BitKit is it BitKit. I keep mixing them up. There's a synonym. There's BitKey, which is a hardware wallet, and BitKit is the mobile wallet by Synonym, right? Yeah. So what they allow you to do is before you put anything on Lightning, they ask you, well, how much do you need? How much do you want on Lightning? Which for a first-time user, maybe a little bit much to ask. I think for someone who understands Lightning and they're serious about it, they'll be like, well, typically I spend 10 euros per week or month or so at Lightning. So this is the type of channel or capacity that I would want. Not sure if that makes any sense in there right now, or it's something that users would later do. But yeah, I'm curious if all of this stuff could be hidden, and then getting the focus on, once they're in the wallet, to get them to do something with their wallet. Like try paying something here, play Ellen Scratch and receive your first sats, or I don't know. Do you have authentication with Lightning in there?
Not yet. But it can be done because it's a Bitcoin wallet, so we can do it definitely.
Yeah.
I like the idea of suggestions for things they can try, and also like about BitKit, it's actually a Bitcoin wallet with Lightning enabled. How do you feel about having on chain Bitcoin and having people like receive either on chain that swapped into Lightning, or receive Lightning and then they can swap it back on chain whenever they want, and they can also do Bitcoin transactions as well. Do you think that's important at this stage, or you think maybe for now it can just be Lightning only?
I mean, so far it seems like you're trying to create the ideal Lightning experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I mean, that is super complex in itself. So maybe just focus on that.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you would be taking on a whole nother mess, trying to do on-chain too, and with limited resources and whatnot. Maybe just focus on this part. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like there should be multiple people working on this. Like you're taking on a lot of stuff here.
I honestly wish that was but then
sorry, you're
breaking up again, Colin. Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I was saying there's been a few people reach out and say,
sorry, it's
oh no, sorry. I mean,
you're low in battery or something.
Yeah, but I'm definitely agreeing with Christoph. The fact that you're a one-man band building this is just it just blows my mind. It's like I couldn't even fathom that. So it's the what you've created so far is absolutely amazing. So absolute kudos to you for doing that. But yeah, going back to what Christoph said with regards to this, that actually never crossed my mind, is this opening a channel phase stage over here. You could just think of something that you could include and just remove all of these screens here, and then just let them know it's going to take about 10 minutes for your channel to open up, and then maybe show a loading screen or something. Like, you can leave your phone for now, because actually that's what I ended up doing very intuitively. I was just like, okay, I'm waiting for a confirmation. So I was on this screen here, and it said waiting for confirmation. It's like, well, I don't even know how long this is going to take. So I found myself staring at my screen for about 2-3 minutes, and then I was like, I don't know how long this takes. So I just put my phone to the side, and I was like, okay, it'll do a thing. And so it could be an idea to just remove all these 3 screens, let them know a channel's opening, and then just let them know it takes 10 minutes. Put your phone aside, have a coffee. You can even use some sarcasm or something funny, and then they can come back, and then they received 5,000 sats. So yeah, that's a good idea from the group.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me now?
Sounds good right now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely going to change that approach and just maybe have them set up their wallet instantly, and then also open up the channel in the background. And it's just like the whole process takes a bit of time, but at least once it's done, it's done, and people don't have to like worry about what's happening with where can't I request immediately, where can't I send immediately, so that there's no confusion about what's going to happen. And I think that makes sense. So I'll just abstract all the stuff from after you set up the biometrics to just simply setting up your wallet, and that takes a bit of time. But of course, even with ZeroConf enabled, which hopefully the bug is fixed soon, you should be able to just get a channel instantly. There'll be no need to wait at all. It's just going to be very, very instant. So even the process of starting a Lightning node, it takes less than, I think, 5 seconds. It doesn't take much time. There's even a delay we put in to, in a way, delay the process a bit, so it feels like something's happening in the background. But really, it takes like 5 seconds to set up the Lightning node, and then of course the channel, which is going to be ZeroConf, will take even like a second. So there's no need to wait at all. And I think once the bug is fixed and it's all instant, it will just be a ZeroConf channel enabled wallet that works instantaneously once you set it up. And it should take about maybe 20 seconds from onboarding to the main screen with your sats. Hopefully.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had an idea. If you say to kind of start the node takes like 5 seconds,
Yeah.
don't know if I heard that correctly, but you could consider starting that process on the screen already after you create your PIN, and basically start it right at that point, because until the user reads this screen with the fingerprint, you would probably be done with creating the node, right?
True. Very true. Very, very true. Yes.
So maybe because there will be a lag, they will need at least 10 seconds or 5 seconds to read the screen and kind of make a choice there. So maybe you could kind of just run that that process in the background.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Maybe a question I have, and this is really about like how if you have a bunch of nodes that are running Etta Wallet, how would they communicate? And maybe, for example, let's say I have a bunch of contacts and I want to share contacts with like maybe more. How do you think it makes sense to add another protocol like maybe Nostr to allow my node to share information with another node, and pretty much create a way for people to like have a whole social experience? Does that make sense? I'm just like thinking out loud here.
Yeah, there are some I think the Cashew people and the Mutiny people, they're setting up this whole social experience, so a contact book using Nostr to handle all of that communication, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I know that some people, they're working on it, but I have no thoughts on exactly how that would fit into the wallet experience. You'd probably have to, I mean, you'd have to allow people to import some private key, or you generate a new one for this wallet, or you'd have to have some sharing, import, contact options there. Yeah, that's a cool one. I'm very curious if that's something that will take off. One of the problems with Nostr is that all the information is public. I think they are working on some private messages, private contact lists, but the privacy angle for contacts is kind of an important one to sort out. But I don't know. I feel like it's yet to be determined if that is something that will really, really work out well.
True.
It's very interesting, but I think you also have to make a call yourself, right? Like, what do you want to focus on learning? Is it to to keep chasing these cutting edge things that are barely working, or
Yeah.
is it to polish something that is already cutting edge, to be honest, right? Like getting a Lightning wallet to work with just-in-time channels, that's already cutting edge. As you know, like you have to wait for the protocols to, or the providers to fix bugs and make it possible. So yeah, it's really up to you, right? What's the main purpose with the project? Is it for you to maximize your learning with the cutting edge stuff, or is it to kind of do an end-to-end product that is polished, that is that is reliable, all those things. So at the end of the day, I think it comes down to yourself and your choice. And there's still a very small number of people that actively use Noster again. So like you could chase that, but then at the end of the day, probably very few people in your surrounding or that would test this wallet would even be able to confirm if it's working. So right, maybe again, it comes back to like who do you see using the wallet? It always comes back to that. And even with the messaging and like how much information do they need? How technical should it be? It always comes back to the user you imagine. And I could think about other interesting social use cases, like if we ignored Noster and thought instead about what most people use, right? Like, is there something we can bring in from that? People often share via WhatsApp, whatever. Like, then you have the sort of mass market approach instead. So yeah, there's a smorgasbord of stuff to work on. You just have to pick and decide what you think is most important, right? Because I know as well, as a one-man band, it's just impossible to cover everything at all times. So that's something to keep in mind when you're building as well. It's totally fine for there not to be all the features that you think it should have, and instead have the features that are there to be really thoughtful. I think at the moment, I think you have sort of laid out the skeleton for a lot of things, and sometimes when you press on things, it said not yet available, those sort of things, right? And you have translations, but they don't really work. So again, I know it's useful to lay the foundation sometimes, but yeah, it's totally fine for there not to be translations until you're done with them, right? Or there not to be an option to press something until it's done.
It's ready.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you.
You're the boss, right? You set the features. Nobody else tells you what should be in there.
Not really, no. But also, speaking of which, and features, I normally use the guide as like a Bible for like, okay, what should I work on next? What does the receive flow look like? The sending flow? Are there any kind of like missed opportunities that I didn't like tackle, like things that I could have done with the design guide that exists today that I didn't do really well, or maybe missed out one that you think I should really incorporate within the wallet?
I mean, you should also give us give the guide feedback, because right, this is so cutting edge that nobody else has really built most of this before, right? So the guide is kind of a best effort, right? Like we think it's pretty close to good, but you never know until you implement it, and you find all sorts of things that come in the way or could be improved. So yeah, take it as a starting point, but don't take it as the ultimate word or the Bible that has all the answers. Like, if you come across things that you think could be better, or you just simply don't work, right? That's feedback that's great for the next person that comes along. So we would love to improve the guide from that.
Yeah, I think that's sorry, just one thing real quick, just to build on that. I think that's a really great thing about Etta Wallet, and it's so close to the guide, is that we can use it to validate ideas, and we can back and forth, and we can test together, and we can build on top of things and make them even better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's what I'm saying now. Like, I mean, are there things that you think we could test within the wallet that would give the validate the guide in some way? Is there something we can add within the guide still that would validate the ideas that you have for user experience that are not there currently in the wallet? And again, even the ideas that Daniel mentioned earlier about the tools section, the management section, with settings being broken up too much, I could change that out. And maybe the idea of also, there's no model for how JIT channels actually work in the guide. Maybe thinking about the flow for JIT channels in the guide would be very, very helpful, because I was working in the dark there and I just did a bunch of things that I don't think make sense. But it would be nice to have like a guide on that area. And then also the contact section, beyond just saving contacts, maybe what else can happen, like what's the flow for sending to a contact. That would be really helpful to see, because they have multiple addresses. When you press send below the contact's name, what should happen? Do you choose an address, or does it have like a default address that you've set for each individual? So ideas like that in terms of how this could help build out the guide experience as well, and also maybe what can go into that wallet that's not in the guide, or that's in the guide that's not in the wallet.
Staying on the social side there with sharing contacts and stuff, like one thing that just came to mind is, because I was really curious as well, like, okay, cool, I can add a contact, but like, where do I get the information from? So then if you flip that around, right, like, well, if I fill out my own information, and then I can share that with you or Christoph or Mo or Michael, right? Like, I can send that contact information in a WhatsApp, right? Because I know how to contact them in a WhatsApp or on Discord. And then, I could fill up my contact book by receiving contacts instead of myself having to input them. Just thinking around that a little bit, right? So you could, for example, think about the sharing flow, or like, how do I fill out my information so that it's useful if I share my contact with you, right? And going back to the just-in-time channel thing, right? The guide largely ignores technical implementations, right? Because often the best design, starts from the user experience, not from the technical capabilities, right? So that's why, we don't 100% know that everything in the guide is possible, right? And that's actually fine. It's more of like well, it would be good if it could work this way. And then as things come along, I mean, just-in-time channels, I had never heard that until, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago at most, right? 3 to 6 months ago. Sure. So when things have a technical implementation that is known, of course, it's great if we can add that reference into the guide, on that page, saying like, hey, this experience is possible now with just-in-time channels and they work so and so. So yeah, I mean, as you come across solutions, that's great to also put forward and share, right? That we could update the pages. We don't necessarily need to create completely new pages. It's more that we embellish how a developer can achieve that user experience. Because you're doing both. I mean, you're implementing and trying to apply the design and stuff. So it's the perfect thing for you to learn and for us to learn from you. What is possible.
And that's a question also with what Daniel and Christoph said, is that you're building this on your own. So I know we only have 3 minutes left, but what could we do from the side of the community to continue to help you as you build and to support you? What would be very useful for you in terms of that?
I think this is helpful, having to talk to some people and get some feedback that, I mean, now I know for sure, like, I know what I'm going to work on next week. I know exactly where I need to change. So this helps a lot. But of course, it will be helpful to also get a bit of buzz about the project. I like what we set up with the sister projects page for the design guide. And I think there's some work to be done on the UI kit before the name change. But ideally, I mean, it's this feedback that's really, really good for it's really, really good. And again, just I guess talking about the project and also just telling me things that you think could be improved on and changed, or even just ideas we could validate together within the wallet as well would be really, really helpful. But for now, I mean, that's it. It's just that this feedback loop is really great, and I look forward to this because then I know exactly what needs to change, and I'm able to like streamline the process of development really, really well. So for now, this is great.
Yeah, we do have some tasks in the guide repo to add information about the sister projects in there somehow. But I posted the link to the Legends of Lightning Volume 2 hackathon. So if you're talking about creating buzz, that is a pretty good opportunity there. Just participate in the hackathon. John's always encourages the build in public, sharing weekly updates. I'll also try to support it in different ways, like creating visibility. We can post about different things, try to maybe help find some people to contribute to the project. Yeah, that'd be a cool one. I think for hackathon, it's helpful to formulate some type of goal. I know this one is really long. It is October 5 to December 17, so quite a lot of stuff you can do in that time. So maybe that could be a really good opportunity. And you have this what do you call it, wind in the back with the hackathon, where people pay attention, people trying to create activity around projects.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Lastly, I also want to give you massive kudos for, although I spoke about translations before and said they were not that important, I think it's really cool that you do have Swahili in there, and I saw that it was at least partly implemented. And I think that is really, there are probably not many wallets out there that have Swahili in them, and that that's of course really sad that there aren't more wallets that have that diversity and in accessibility. So again, I think you have a little bit of an edge there. Maybe if you can implement English and Swahili, then you have potentially a lot of people that you can reach out to that can help you with feedback, and maybe that's your special audience, right? Like no other wallets cater specifically to people who want a wallet in Swahili, and that gives you a special position that maybe you could take advantage of somehow, whether it's in a hackathon or whether it's getting other people to help you, or whether it's tailoring the wallet to situations that those people have that we're not aware of. Right?
Yeah. And then speaking of that also, again, I'm really keen on accessibility as well. So maybe looking into how well, when I go back into the UI kit, and like how well to make the components very accessible, in the sense that people know what they're clicking on, they know what they're looking at, they get easy feedback, and I'll need some help on that as well, maybe in the future.
Well, maybe that's something we can actually tackle partly as the UI kit implementations. I don't know enough about it, but I know that for sure, certain things like text labels and accessibility around that and naming and stuff can be built into components. So that's maybe something we should look at across the different platforms. You're doing this for React Native, but we have other platforms too. So if we can build in the accessibility, that's another win, right? For many
that would be perfect. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. That means it will just work natively within the wallet itself. It's really perfect. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
I have one more tip. So you basically, like, you'd like to have a lot of feedback on a lot of things. But what I've noticed with my own projects and in the community, just in general with online communities too, it's that when you ask for 10 things, people are like, oh, that's so much, I don't know what to do. But if you ask for one thing every week or one thing every other week, and you just talk about that one thing for 2 weeks, and you just get feedback on that, and then you do the next thing the next 2 weeks, and then the next thing the next 2 weeks, it's much more likely that you'll get feedback. Of course, you have to be a little bit patient and strategic about it, but just in terms of, like, people are busy and they have their own projects, and when just too much comes across at a time, it can be a bit overwhelming. So that's also maybe an idea for the hackathon potentially, if this goes, I don't know, 8 weeks or so, have one topic every 2 weeks or so, something like that, and then just work through one thing at a time.
Interesting. Yeah, I like it. It's a good idea. Thank you so much, Christoph. That's a good idea. Thank you.
Should we wrap it up? Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time, for jumping in on the call as well, and for you, Colin, as well, for just reaching out to us and allowing us to go through the wallet that you've created. But yeah, stay in the community, and maybe we just, as Christoph said, reach out every 2 weeks in the community, ask for help about something, and maybe a few months from now we can have another call and see how you've built it further, and just keep on helping out with design feedback.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much, Mo, Christoph, Daniel, Michael. I appreciate the time you guys take. And yeah, looking forward to the next call. And maybe by then we'll have a much more streamlined flow and just like better vibes overall. Thank you so much.
100%.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.